Hello, this is Mrs. Patterson, and we are working today in Microsoft Excel. So this is my blank template workbook called MyWorkbook, and you should have it saved with your name and your initials, one or the other, as long as we know it's yours. Notice it has the .xls extension. So Excel ended in .xls, excuse me, .xls until 2007 Office, and now it's XLSX because all of the new Office documents are saved as XML files, which are actually compressed or zipped files. The first thing you'll notice is the ruler here, and that's because we are in page layout view. I don't care for page layout view, so I'm going to switch it over to normal view. And this is just one worksheet. It's the pizza worksheet of a whole workbook, and there's a lot of different worksheets. You use the tabs at the bottom. When you can't see the tabs because you see the dot, 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 you could click on the ellipse, would be more, there's more there. Or you can use the arrow key to go across. Here's a title page and so on. I can change how much I can see by pulling this divider. So on this side is the tabs and the scroll bar here for the tabs. On this side is the scroll bar for the window. So if I'm going to, sorry, once again, excuse me, for the worksheet. So I want to move that over so I have a little more space here, or not. And we'll go back. Okay, you can try that out. The next thing to notice is we had found the page icons, the view icons for the page styles on the status bar. And if you right mouse on the status bar, you'll notice there's a lot of options. I like having the average added to my status bar and the count added to my status bar. You could also put the max and the minimum if you want, and the sum. So you might want to choose some of those functions. I'll show you how that works. So I'm going to go to the grades worksheet. And if I select a group of numbers, you can see on my status bar it tells me what the average is, the count, how many I selected, the minimum value, the max gives me the range, and it sums it up for me. So instead of having to write functions and formulas out, I can just use the toolbar, the status bar, to get the information. And you see I have a nice screen tip going on right there. All right. So today is a good day to start. Well, since we're on the classroom, might as well start with the classroom. So there's directions in all the sheets at the bottom. And then before you finish, you want to delete the directions and clear them all out. You don't want them to print. So we need an average formula. So you can type equals average and select the numbers that you want to average, and you hit enter. And then perfectly easy to autofill down. Oh, those numbers look horrible. They're jagged. There's no systematic, the decimal points aren't aligned. Makes it hard to read and understand what's going on. So right up here in your numbers group on the home tab, you can use the drop down list arrow and choose number, of course, there it is. Up, give me 2 decimal places. I only need 1, so let's see, decrease decimal. Perfect. All right, so we have the average going on, and then I need to know if the student passed or failed. This is a beautiful function that becomes very useful, and it's part of programming to learn an if function. So I can go to my formula bar, and I can go to f of x right here, and I'm looking for an if function. Oh, if a student passes, and look, right there, it's an if, and I can click on it. Beautiful. It tells me about it, what to do, and I say okay. So the logical test, that's what I'm going to happen. So if it's true, it'll do whatever I put here, and if it's false, it'll do whatever I put here. So my logical test is going to be if the value in cell G4, if it's greater than or equal to 70, because they told me passing is 70. If that's the case, then I'm going to write pass. Notice I'm writing a word. When you write a word, you want it in double quotes. That's called a string literal. And if they don't pass, I'm going to write fail. I might make it stand out so I know that I have to send a note to the vice principal that they didn't pass. Okay? And that's it. Here's the test is the first part. You use your comparison operator, so there's the greater than or equal to. In this world, the not equal to follows Visual Basic, and it's a less than and a greater than. Those are by the comma and the period keys on the keyboard. That's the not equal to. But you have less than, equal to. Oh, sorry, and I want that it's greater than or equal to, and then they pass. I had less than before, I apologize. So that it's greater than or equal to 70, then they pass, otherwise they fail. And I say, okay. And I spot check. 84 makes sense, they passed. And then I autofill down. Perfect. Autofill down works because in the formula, I'm using a relative reference. So at the beginning, it was G4 in the formula. Now it's G21. Relative reference continues the trends when you copy or autofill down. And that's our logical test. I don't want to make a mess of that cell, so I'm going to hit escape. Whenever you think you're making a mess of a formula, you can hit escape. Beautiful. All right, what's next? Insert a column after first name and label it year for year of graduation and input the name. So after, insert a column after first name. To insert a column, we click on the column letter. We right mouse click and insert. And I'm supposed to put year. And I don't need it that large, but that's going to be too small. So if you double click between the column letters, I can select these. If I double click, it'll auto fit it or auto size it to the largest element, which in this case is the word test. But I also can pull it a smidge and it'll resize all of the columns I selected. Year needs to be a little wider, I think, so I'm going to make it a little wider. And I'm going to make everybody in this class a junior, and I can autofill down. And we'll make this super smart kid, we'll make him a sophomore. Just for fun. And then I hit enter to accept the data in the cell, and I double click. Okay, we did that. Show the averages. Oh, they wanted us to show them to do the averages to 2 decimal places, so I highlight the numbers. I go to format, and right here I need to increase the decimal. Beautiful. In cell I3, add the label Spark. I3 add the label Spark and use the columns to display spark lines for the test values. Okay, all caps Spark. Oh, it's not lined as nicely as the other ones. I'm going to copy this formatting over. So I'm going to use my autofill handle. And right here you can see fill formatting only. Ah, nice. Now it's bold and centered like the rest. So I need to insert, spark line, spark lines, here it is. This is so cool. So I'm gonna, what did we want, spark lines or columns? And use the column to display spark lines. Okay, columns. So here's spark lines, I can click here. The data range I want to show, I'm gonna use a little arrow key and highlight the tests and go back through the little red door, and that's location range. Stuck right there, and I say okay, and there we go. I could also do it, well, I'm going to just autofill down at this point. So there's some spark lines. You could make them spark columns if you wanted to, loss and so on. Okay, well, we'll have to pick up with another video.